The fuel is so thick it looks like asphalt, so toxic it must be heated before it can even be pumped. Deep below the deck of a modern cargo ship, thousands of tons of this sludge are being forced into an engine the size of a building. It's the literal waste left over after refineries strip out gasoline and diesel, full of sulfur and heavy metals. Most engines would seize up in hours if you fed them this stuff. That's the hidden reality behind global trade. To understand what is happening, we need to look at what comes out of a refinery. Crude oil goes in, and the useful stuff rises to the top. Gasoline, diesel, and kerosene come out first. What is left at the bottom is heavy fuel oil, or HFO. It's the dregs, the residue. Nobody else can use it. In simple terms, it looks and feels like tar. At room temperature, it won't flow. It must be heated to roughly 50 degrees Celsius just to pump it through a pipe. The common marine grade, called IFO 380, has a viscosity of 380 centistokes. Marine diesel flows at 2 to 5 centistokes, roughly 100 times thinner. And it's dirty. Historically, HFO contained up to 3.5% sulfur, along with vanadium, nitrogen, and heavy metals. Even the newer low-sulfur blends are still residual fuel, still sludge. The only reason anybody burns this stuff is that it's cheap. It's waste, and waste is free. But there's a catch. Not every engine can touch it. The engine. The engine that burns this waste is the Wärtsilä-Sulzer RTA-96-C. It's the largest reciprocating engine in the world, built specifically for this job. The biggest version has 14 cylinders lined up in a row. It stands 13.5 meters high, stretches over 26 meters long, and weighs more than 2,300 tons. Each cylinder has a bore of 960 millimeters. That's wider than a man is tall. The piston stroke is 2.5 meters, and every piston weighs 5.5 tons. The whole machine burns through 250 tons of fuel every day. The clever part is the speed. It turns at 15 to 102 revolutions per minute. That's so slow you can watch the crankshaft rotate. Most diesel engines spin thousands of times per minute. This one barely spins. That's not a limitation, it's the entire point. But before the fuel reaches the injectors, it must be cleaned. The purifier raw HFO is full of water, rust, and abrasive solids. Pump that directly into an injection system, and the pumps would grind themselves to pieces. So before the fuel goes near the engine, it passes through a fuel oil purifier. That's a high-speed centrifuge that spins the sludge inside a stack of fine discs. The HFO is heated first so it will flow into the machine. Then the centrifuge does the work. Water and solid impurities are heavier than fuel, so centrifugal force flings them outward. Clean fuel moves inward and upward, then gets drawn off and sent toward the engine. The machine can even flush out sludge automatically. Without this hidden process, the entire system collapses. The engine gets the credit for moving the ship, but the purifier keeps it alive. It takes the worst fuel on Earth and spins it into burnable fuel. Now that the fuel is clean enough to handle, we can look at why this engine burns HFO so well, and why it couldn't just run on diesel instead. Here's the answer. Slow-speed two-stroke engines tolerate HFO because they give the fuel time and space to burn. At 102 revolutions per minute, each power stroke lasts roughly 0.3 seconds. That might not sound like much, but in engine timing, it's an eternity. A truck diesel completes a cycle in a fraction of that time. The combustion chamber is enormous. 960 millimeters across, 2.5 meters deep. That volume lets heat transfer evenly, and the slow piston speed gives heavy droplets enough time to combust completely. In a fast engine with small cylinders, those same droplets would leave the chamber only partly burned. The result is carbon buildup, particulate emissions, and mechanical damage. The RTA-96-C isn't just a big engine that happens to accept bad fuel. It's an industrial incinerator, built to consume what nothing else can touch. You could run it on high-grade diesel, and it would work. But that would be like feeding a steel mill nothing but charcoal. The engine is overbuilt, oversized, and deliberately slow, all to do the one job that makes global shipping affordable. But that only works at sea. There's one moment where the system faces its hardest test. When a ship approaches land, it enters an emission control area. International law requires the crew to stop burning HFO and switch to low-sulfur marine gas oil before crossing the boundary. The changeover is time-critical. The crew must flush the fuel lines, manage the temperature swing from hot HFO to cooler MGO, and complete the switch before the ship hits the line. The viscosity gap makes it tricky. HFO runs at 380 centistokes. MGO runs at 2 to 5. The pumps and injectors are calibrated for thick sludge, and now they must handle thin liquid. Get the timing wrong and the engine stumbles. Miss the boundary and fines are severe. It's the only time this machine runs on normal fuel, and the crew can't wait to switch. This isn't about greed or purely about necessity, it's both at once. At 250 tons of fuel per day, even a small price difference per ton becomes massive across the fleet. The cost gap between HFO and marine diesel has historically been around $200 per ton. A single ship burns thousands of tons on a long voyage. If every cargo ship switched to diesel tomorrow, shipping costs would jump and the price of nearly every good would rise. But the environmental cost is real. Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, black carbon, and particulates all come out of the stack. The global economy runs on affordable shipping, and shipping runs on the cheapest fuel available, which happens to be toxic waste. This isn't an accident. It's an engineered dependency, built into machinery that moves 90% of what we buy. The world doesn't move on diesel. It moves on the toxic residue nobody else wants, fed into engines the size of buildings that turn slower than a ceiling fan. The RTA-96-C doesn't burn HFO because it's cheap. It burns HFO because it's the only engine large enough, slow enough, and tough enough to do the job. The purifier, the crosshead, the massive cylinder, every part exists to handle sludge. Global trade is built on this hidden machinery. Next time you see a container ship on the horizon, remember what's burning inside. If you want to see more hidden engineering like this, hit subscribe. We take apart the world one mechanism at a time.